What's that? Is that it? Amazing. Note the pain right out. Much appreciated. Let's get out of here. I'll follow you. You the new lab rat?
There you are. Thank you for rescuing our friend. Here, take this. For your trouble. It's the best I can do. Stay safe out there.
Always a satisfying moment to return to your ship.
Gear looks green, ready to land.
Hello, Captain.
Their shield system is damaged.
Ram is offline.
Directly to their taking out their Shutting down. Everything in the green.
Perhaps not the sort of place on which one would settle down. Always worth checking.
I am satisfied to see that you survived your most recent sleep cycle.
What does your scanner reveal?
You arrived at just the right time, stranger. We have a subterranean scanner that's been gathering data nearby, but all of us here are busy. And perhaps scared venturing too far away. Could you get the latest data readings? Thank you. Much appreciated.
Starfield was...
This extra data will put us way ahead of schedule. Much appreciated. Here, this is for you. I only wish I had more to give. Safe travels, friend.
Entering United Colony space. Maintain course and prepare to be scanned. And we're done. Feel free to land.
Welcome to New Homestead. Please make your way to the building at the end of the path and down into the colony below. Stay safe and enjoy your visit.
I could really go for some of Anya's cooking over at the Brown Horse.
Hey, what can I do for you? Need some work done? I'm sure you can find something you like. Sure thing. We'll get it fixed up. Good as new.
Damn power's on the fritz again. Joyce always seems to need help clearing ice off the equipment.
There is value to be found in looking back through history, provided one does not cling too tightly to it.
Heads up if you're planning on going to Chunks. Luther's been bothering anyone with a ship for help. We take vandalism seriously here. You don't mess with history.
Did you know the museum here is full of old Earth artifacts? Cool, huh?
Welcome to New Homestead.
Lots of history here, if you're into that sort of thing.
Don't stay outside for too long here on Titan. You'll freeze solid without the proper protection.
My papa doesn't really like me talking to the tourists, but how else am I going to learn about out there? Hello? I'm not really supposed to talk with tourists, but I kind of want to anyway. And I don't think my papa is paying attention. You're not going to tell him, are you? Oh, I guess that's okay. I wouldn't want to make you lie. My mama always tells me it's not good to lie. Now what should we talk about? Not really. There's some, though. Most are around my age. We all go to school in the same room. I don't know. I've never been to any other schools. We mostly learn about the history of the Sol system and Earth and stuff like that, until we get old enough to go on our learning vacation. That's when we get to leave to go to school somewhere else for a few years, or travel and visit other worlds, try out jobs and stuff. Oh, I can't wait. My mama says it's because he thinks we'd up and leave if we found out about the rest of the worlds out there. But I keep telling him, I love it here, and I love him, and I would never leave him. He doesn't believe it. He says the kids almost always want to leave when they grow up. But not me. Nope. I just want to visit somewhere else. Maybe. I think it's pretty fun. And I get to be around my mama and my papa all day, so that's cool. They say we all have to work a little, because it takes all of us to make the community work. Just like on Earth a really, really, really long time ago. Someday, I think it'd be cool to see other places and do other things, but this is fine for now. Thanks for taking the time to talk with me.
We get a lot of tourists out this way, but most of them aren't so bold as to strike up conversations with us. What's your deal? You seem genuine enough. So what can I do for you? Well, for one, it's my wife Mara's farm. I just had the good fortune of marrying into it. It's been in her family for generations. We're the best source of fresh produce in the colony. Not like that processed junk we get from off-world, and certainly nothing like that eyesore chunks. From what I know about farming elsewhere, it's largely the same. Big difference is that we need to import or make our own soil. And we need to be extra careful with our temperature control. Titan's surface is frozen, and it's not much better just below it with the ice caves. Then it's just a matter of artificial sunlight and supplying CO2 for the crops. It's not too challenging. No worries. You have yourself a day now.
Off-worlders always ask how I can live here. I wonder how they can live anywhere else.
Papa, you're always talking about how important it is to preserve our traditions. But why do we have to farm? How is that part of our tradition?
Well, we tend to farm here because we need to grow food. And that's what our ancestors did on Earth.
But didn't they have big open fields and giant machines? We don't have any of that.
She makes a good point, dear.
It's because we have a much smaller space to work with.
So then, it's not really the same, is it? How is it a tradition if it's not the same thing as they did? And so then, why is it important that we preserve it?
I don't know, it just is. Now, we don't want to fall behind on work, so let's get back to it, okay, kiddo?
Okay, fine.
The elders say that preserving our tradition is so important, but I keep hearing such wonderful things about other worlds. Ah, someone new. Are you a tourist, or have you just moved to New Homestead? Ah, well, don't be afraid to soak in some of the local charm then. We're friendly people. Mostly. And we like having visitors. I'm fascinated by the other worlds in the settled systems. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Oh, wonderful. What's New Atlantis like? Oh my, that sounds incredible. Ever since I overheard one of the tourists speaking about it, I've always wanted to go. We hear about it, of course, but we rarely get much exposure to other worlds beyond the people who come from them to visit our little colony. I wonder if I can convince Nathaniel to go on a trip there with me and our daughter. Do you mind if I ask you another question? Thanks. I promise not to take too much of your time. Is the Freestar Collective as lawless as I've heard? I figured the stories weren't all true. How else would you expect people to live together if you can't trust in laws to keep everyone safe? Even in a small community like ours, we have to maintain law and order. Though, I understand it gets difficult to always protect that out in the vastness of space. I imagine it's the same in the Freestar Collective. Is it okay if I change the subject? Oh, thank you. Are there really planets full of plants, fresh air, and water? I've read about them. It seems incredible, doesn't it? I've only ever known Titan, and it's always so cold and drab. I've always dreamed of visiting one to breathe the air, feel the warmth of its sun, but my husband is reluctant to leave our home. Can I ask you something else? Oh, thank you. Is space travel as exciting as it seems? I've heard stories about pirates and spaceship malfunctions and all sorts of terrible things. I've always wanted to try going into space, but I'm also worried about all those dangers. Maybe people here are right. The dangers here are few, and we know how to take care of them. Space is too unknown. Those are all the questions I have at the moment. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day for me.
My papa doesn't really like me talking to the tourists, but...
It's been a while since I last visited. Nice to see this place still has the same charm.
It's one thing to learn about early colony life. It's another to experience it.
Welcome to Chunks. What can I get for you? Hello there. Welcome to the new Homestead Chunks. We've got all your Chunks favorites. Well, almost all of them. Sadly, we're out of the special sauce. I know. But everything else is still that great Chunks food you know and love. So, what can I do for you? Well, people gotta eat, you know? But seriously, I think we're just starting to get with the times a little. And I can't think of a better restaurant than Chunks to usher that in. I think corporate just saw New Homestead as an untapped market. And the locals may not eat it, but the tourists love having a taste of home. You know I do. And what's not to love? It's delicious, nutritious, easy, fast, inexpensive. It sure makes my hungry belly sing for joy. My wife thinks I eat too much Chunks food, but I just can't help myself. It's so good. Oh, you had to go and ask the hard questions, huh? How can I pick just one? Chicken chunks, beef chunks, potato chunks, cheesesteak chunks, cheesecake chunks, you know what? I'm gonna cheat if you don't mind, and just say I love them all equally. If I'm completely honest, it is. People are always saying how this chunks can't compare to the real deal. And I just know it's because we never had that mouth-watering sauce. I've been in contact with some of the other restaurants out there, and they'll give me some, but they say they can't afford to send it, and I don't have a ship, so what am I to do? You bet it is. You may not hear people talk about it, but trust me, it's the secret ingredient. It's like the glue that holds it all together. I mean, not literally. I'm not saying it's glue or that our food falls apart. It's delightful. Tangy, savory, it's a little sweet, but not too sweet. And I've noticed that once people find out we don't have it, sometimes they don't return. It's the reason business isn't as good as other chunks. For real, good question. They haven't said, but I think it has something to do with them prioritizing other chunks over mine. I guess it's made at a different facility than our other food, and they don't even want to pay the shipping cost to ship from another store to ours. Yeah, sometimes I get lucky and a cargo hauler passes through with a route that takes them near other chunks and back again, but there's no guarantee. Wait, for real? You do that? You're not pulling my leg? Oh, yeah, right. I actually just got a message back from another chunks before you got here, and they got a case ready to go for me. Just tell them you're there to pick it up for me, and it should be good to go. Thanks.
Sure would be
Welcome
nice
to
to get
Chunks.
off-world
Please
sometime.
choose your chunks.
Great. What can I get for you?
Chunks are the highest quality ingredients sourced from all over the settled systems. And, I forget the rest.
Yes?
I can't imagine living here. These people sure are hardy.
Well, what did we think of the tour?
Very informative. I didn't know about the methane harvesters before coming here.
The, Brown Horse Tavern, was it, huh? The food was better than I expected from a backwoods planet like this.
It has a quaint charm, doesn't it?
Just like the rest of New Homestead.
Well, I hope you'll come back and see us again sometime. And I hope you'll consider another Starsap tour. Tell your friends.
Bye. We will. Thanks again.
Excuse me, Bill. You've got to do a better job of keeping your tour groups out of trouble.
What do you mean?
That little boy almost wound up on my operating table. Claudio said he was playing with some of the machinery down by the mines and nearly got his arm stuck inside. It could have been ripped off.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, kids, little troublemakers. I'll tell the guests to be more careful.
Damn right. You've got to do something, or else next time it happens, I'm billing you personally.
Yeesh.
You get used to the methane processing smell after a while.
Why, hello there! I'm Bill Starsap of Starsap Tours. Let me tell you, this place is full of history and interesting facts. For instance, did you know that New Homestead was one of the first colonies established outside of Earth? It's been populated in some capacity for over 200 years. Well, there's plenty more where that came from if you're interested in taking one of my famous tours. So what do you say? I've got an opening. I could take you on a tour right now if you'd like. Why would I want a tour of New Homestead, he says. Well, let me tell you, New Homestead is living history. These people are direct descendants of some of the first settlers to leave Earth. If you've ever wanted to know what that early colonial life was like, this is your chance to embark on a fun-filled exhibition unlike any other. Definitely check out the Brown Horse Tavern. Good food, great atmosphere. Avoid spending too much time outdoors. It's freezing out there. Any more than that, and well, I'd be giving away the tour for free. Excellent! You won't regret it. My tours are one of a kind. Now, there's just the matter of price. The going rate for a genuine Starsap tour is only 100 credits. Great! Let's get this show on the road, eh? All right, so this is New Homestead's main concourse. This underground area didn't exist when the original outpost, titled Astro Base, was finished in 2130. Follow me. We'll come back here by the end of the tour and talk about the museum collection. But first, let's go see where people live. Now remember, these people aren't actors. They actually live here, so try to be respectful of that. While the original inhabitants of the Titan Astro Base lived in pods like you saw up above, they transitioned down here when this section of the base was finished in 2144. Space is extremely limited, so you'll notice some overflow here, but more residences also exist on lower levels, which are inaccessible to tours. I'll stop at each of our destinations if you want to look around, or if you have any questions for me. Have any questions so far? Sadly, it's difficult to get additional construction done inside these underground caverns. So for now, additional populations are housed in these stacks of old shipping crates. As you might expect, this is where some of the less wealthy can afford to live. It's not glamorous, but they are functional and cozy. The original Titan Astro Base had more habitation pods on the surface connected to some of the old structures you may have seen in the back. As the colony grew, the base was expanded underground, and those hab units were recycled into materials used down here. I'm not sure the exact count, but New Homestead is a fairly small colony. What you see is what you get for the most part, except for some other people who live in the private lower levels. Some, particularly security, and yours truly, even commute from other worlds. Alrighty, we'll be taking the residential elevator to the farms area on the surface level. This way, please. Let's leave these good people alone for now and go check out the farms. Follow me up the elevator.
The people here live a simple life. Try not to complicate it.
New Homestead's farms are the beating heart of the colony. Without them, the original outpost would have shriveled and died. These pods are sealed and climate controlled. Perfect environment for growing the hydroponic vegetation needed for survival in the early days of the colony. Any questions about the farms? Oh, they are indeed. Colonists still cultivate plant-based food for their own consumption here in New Homestead. It's less vital to their survival these days, as they also import supplemental food from other colonies, including meats, dairy, and synthetics. However, most citizens here take pride in a New Homestead-grown, sustainable diet. These days, it's a mix of what you find elsewhere in the galaxy, but in the olden days, it was all brought over from Earth. It was a lot of hardy root vegetables like potatoes, carrots, beets, and such, supplemented with corn, peas, green beans, soy, etc., which didn't always grow as well. Good question. It's largely the same, because this was the colony that pioneered the techniques you see elsewhere. But you'll notice that the farms here are smaller and staffed by humans, not robots. Things here are a little more old-fashioned compared to some of the large factory farms you'll find elsewhere in the settled systems. Onward it is! We'll be stopping by the Brown Horse Tavern later in the tour, which uses many of these locally sourced ingredients in their cooking. But for now, it's just a short way to our next stop. Follow me! So, the old biolabs are just on the other side of this building, believe it or not. We'll step on through the hallway there.
I learned a lot.
They're not in use anymore, but the colony has faithfully recreated them as a historical exhibit, true to the original purpose of the Titan Astrobase.
Those
Sadly,
folks in
they're
Sidonia may
undergoing
be
some
closer to
light
Earth,
renovation.
but we do a
Otherwise,
better
there'd be
job
interactive activities for kids to learn about how they used to search for microbial life here. Pardon the dust, but I can still answer some questions about the old Titan Astrobase biolabs. Funny you should ask! Sadly, none. See, NASA funded the Titan Astrobase project because conditions seemed ripe for primordial life to form in Titan's methane pools. They tested many different sites, performed deep core ice drilling, and more, yet nothing turned up. Well, NASA defunded the xenobiology program in 2132, but a scientist by the name of Catherine Neely proposed research into advanced colony building on inhospitable worlds. So, by 2135, work began on what would ultimately set us all up to create habitats anywhere humans dared to explore. These very labs housed the computer systems used in that research. That and general storage for the colony. Lots of storage. Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot to mention that. That's what this place was originally called. When NASA divested its interest in the Astrobase and turned it over to the people back in 2185, they renamed it New Homestead and established it as a historical site. You got it! On to our next stop! Next, we'll be heading outside,
We
so
take vandalism
make sure to check
seriously
those
here.
seals
We
on
don't
your
mess with
suit
history.
because it's a bit chilly out there. We're going out into the frozen wastes of Titan to see what powers this planet. Watch your step outside, by the way. The ice can be slippery if you're not careful. The goal is to keep people out of Dr. Lakota's infirmary.
Feel free to look around, but do not touch.
Anyway, where were we? Oh, yes. Powering New Homestead. As you might imagine, generating energy was a real challenge back in the day because the technology was much more crude then. But crude or not, it was that technology that sustained the old Astrobase. And it might surprise you to learn that the same technology is still working today. The interesting thing about this old colony is that it's mostly powered by clean, renewable energy. You'll see one of the methods used on the horizon up ahead. That's right, New Homestead's famous wind farms. This spot was chosen for the colony in part because of its constant winds. These turbines have been integral to the colony's function since its establishment as a cheap, most
mostly reliable source of electricity. So, let's talk about wind power, shall we? Mostly. I'm sure you've noticed the occasional brownouts. I guess these old machines have a habit of freezing up, what with all the ice out here. There's some methane on reserve for critical life support systems, but everything else here is otherwise powered by the units you see here. You're looking at a piece of history! Sure, wind power is used throughout the galaxy, but these people were able to make do with it for hundreds of years! It's impressive that was all they had back then, and still make it work to this day! You're right. Most surface wind on Titan isn't too terribly strong, but here, the altitude and other conditions are perfect for sustained wind power. Like many worlds with atmosphere, the higher you go, the windier it gets. You're the boss. Let's go. Moving right along, we're going to learn about Titan's great natural resources. Titan is rich with hydrocarbons like methane and ethane. Surely you saw huge pools of this stuff on your descent into New Homestead. I like to think they add to the natural beauty of this world. Though, of course, stay away from them because, like anything beautiful, they can be dangerous. Just like my last ex-wife's pet. She had this gorgeous, I don't know what you'd call it, creature. The guy that sold it to her couldn't tell her what it was or where it was from. I don't think it was even a legal sell, to be honest. The thing was very easy on the eyes. Feathers, all the colors of the rainbow. Nasty bite, though. Wound up in the hospital and almost lost my hand. Still not enough for her to get rid of the dang thing. Anyway, there's a reason she's my ex-wife. But enough about me. We were talking about methane and other resources, right? Hey, can you believe it? Back in the 20th century on Earth, they used to fight wars over natural resources like this and petroleum. They had this whole moon here basically made of hydrocarbons in their own backyard. They just couldn't get to it. Incredible how far we've come. New Homestead is home to one of the oldest and largest methane processing plants in the settled system. Every year, UC engineers go through a painstaking, month-long maintenance process. That's how this place has remained operational as long as it has. I'm not going to take you too close to the machinery, liability and all, but I can still answer questions. Questions? Fire away! Exports mostly, since this world is so methane rich and has the infrastructure for it, a lot of the UC's methane comes from Titan. Of course, new homesteaders use it themselves for everything from generating heat to turning it into breathable oxygen via modern science. Oh, no one's ever asked me that before. Something to do with methane-eating microbes, I believe? I honestly don't know. Sorry. It's not as if they shut down for a month. It's not shut down at all, actually. See, this place is built with redundant systems, so they can shut it down piece by piece and suffer only a reduction in throughput. During that time, the UC gets more of its resources from other places, allowing New Homestead to maintain what it needs. Okie dokie, artichokey. There will be time for more later anyway. So, this next stop is a bit of an interesting one. I only recently made it part of the tour. Fun fact, it's also the only natural landmark on the tour. What we're about to see is a glacial spire we affectionately call Emir's Horn. This colus used to be named after a character in a popular fantasy novel, but it was changed a couple hundred years ago to avoid any potential litigation. Now, what's a colus, you might say? Colus derives from the Latin word for hill, and scientists only gave names to groups of hills on a planet's surface. So in reality, the term you hear more often is the plural, coles, with an E. You probably don't hear it very often where you're from, because it was usually a term reserved for unexplored planets, back when they didn't have the technology to describe what they were seeing firsthand. Because of that, the term is much more common in the Sol system, but you may still hear it occasionally in reference to uncharted worlds. This planet's full of them, though, and they like to preserve that history here. So here it is, Ymir's Horn. You're free to take a closer look if you like. I've heard this particular formation was caused by an ancient volcano. Something about steam and wind, then worn down over time. But I'm not 100% sure. According to ancient Norse mythology, Ymir was the first Jotun, a frost giant. In the legend, they were both male and female and gave birth to the progenitors of all giants from their armpits. Ymir even predated the Norse gods, who, as it turns out, killed Ymir to fashion the earth and all of humanity from the corpse. It's a fascinating story, and the horn here is a fitting tribute to it. Excellent! On to the next stop, then! So, we're gonna head back inside, through the methane processing plant. Try not to touch anything on your way. We want to make sure to respect Dr. Lakota's wishes to be safer around here. That brings me to another point. You'll notice the people around here have last names related to where their families originated from on Earth, as a way to remember the past. The museum curator, Maurice Leon, has more information about that if you're interested. You can find him inside the main concourse. Loves talking about it. You'll find most of the locals here are very friendly to tourists like yourself. Tourism is a major draw to this colony these days, and I respect that. Most of them are happy to talk at length about what they do here. Their rugged lifestyle is a point of pride for a lot of these folks.
This area we're walking through is the nerve center of the plant, where technicians keep an eye on the operation. Since methane production is such an important part of the colony's livelihood, it's important that the techs notice any issues and react to them quickly. Anyway, we're headed into the ice mines. It's a natural spring where water bubbles up from deep below, but due to the cold, it keeps freezing as it reaches the surface. else can I tell you about the ice mines? Not all. Some water is created as a byproduct of methane processing, but that's usually saved in the emergency reserves. Good question. I believe it has something to do with not wanting to contaminate the water with methane and other chemicals. The ice helps prevent impurities in the water. At least this is what I've been told. I wouldn't recommend it. First, it's an active work site. Second, it still needs to be filtered and checked for contaminants. But don't worry, we'll stop somewhere for refreshments before the tour is over. Sounds good. Let's keep going then. We have just one more stop before we're done with the tour, and it just happens to be my favorite. This colony is home to the longest running establishment still in existence, the Brown Horse Tavern. The Brown Horse started as a simple mess hall for the scientists and workers when the underground was built, but it's been operated by the same family ever since. Now, what's a horse, you might say? They were a large four-legged animal on Earth, often used for transportation or manual labor. Long before space travel was even a dream for the folks of Earth, even before antique machines like automobiles were possible, horses could be found everywhere. You might have seen them in old movies or read about them somewhere. If not, I highly recommend looking into them sometime. They're beautiful animals. The tavern's original owner was infatuated with them, from what I understand, and named the place in their honor. The moniker, Brown Horse Tavern, is also a throwback to names of similar Earth restaurants hundreds of years before it was established.
Word of advice, steer clear of the doctor here. She really seems to have a problem with tourists for some reason.
That delicious smell is making me hungry. Can I answer anything about the Brown Horse? Easy. All the other ones fell to ruin when we abandoned Earth. There were technically older ones on Mars, but those have long since shuttered or been replaced. Ooh, that's a tough one. I honestly love everything Anya serves here. I'd be doing her a disservice to recommend one dish over another. You want the real answer? Order one of everything. Anya Seattle is the current owner of the Brown Horse. It's been in the Seattle family for generations. But Anya will be able to tell you more herself. Feel free to ask her. It doesn't feel right coming from me when she's standing right over there. Okay then. All right, we're headed to the last stop, right back where we began. Feel free to check out the museum exhibit in the main concourse here. These displays are full of rare Earth trinkets salvaged from before humanity left, and Maurice is happy to talk about the collection.
Cool, huh?
The museum's curator, Maurice, will be happy to talk to you if you want to know more. Well, that's that. I hope you enjoyed Starsap Tours as much as I enjoy giving them. You're welcome, and thank you for coming along. Remember to tell your friends all about it. Take care.